What's going on, everybody? We're back at the Starfighter podcast. It is Ethan, Nick, and myself, Dom. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good, man.
I saw, dude.
Solid.
Nice. Well, as all Wednesdays are, we do our everything nerdy show, talking everything nerdy when it comes to entertainment and big story news. Today, in particular, we are going to talk about the E3 Game Expo that just went down over the course of, I think, 3 or 4 days, including this past weekend. So we're going to get into that. Really excited, and of course, we had to bring on Nick to talk about video games, and I'm sure he's got a lot of great opinions and thoughts on some of these things, as well as Ethan. And so it's going to be some really fun conversations. And we want to thank our audience, you guys, for tuning in here on the live show. Of course, you can also follow us on all different platforms. Continue to show your support that way as well. Hit the subscribe and follow button. Leave us a like and get involved in the conversation. We want to hear from you guys, especially what you guys enjoyed from the E3 news. But with that out of the way, I think we can get right into things, guys. I think I don't want to speak for you guys, but I feel like we usually are kind of drawn more towards the Nintendo stuff. I could be wrong. I know that that's what it is for me. And honestly, I pulled away a lot more exciting stuff from Nintendo. But I mean, what do you guys think?
Nick,
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
You run it.
What were you most excited about?
I was just gonna say, I think Nintendo stole the show, personally. I don't know. There's not a whole lot else from E3, unfortunately, that I feel like was as I guess I was excited for as Nintendo. So I'm with you, Dom. I feel like Nintendo was pretty much like the biggest thing, in my opinion. There were a couple things though from other, I guess, panels. Man, I don't even know what you want to call them. My mind's blanking right now.
Just like developers and stuff.
Yeah, there were a couple other things that were interesting and look kind of cool. But I feel like just the main takeaway was Nintendo killed it, in my opinion.
Yeah. What about you, Ethan? Were you most excited about the Nintendo stuff or drawn more towards Sony and Xbox?
Personally, I felt Nintendo. I don't know. I get more excitement from Xbox games these days, just because like that's what I feel like I grew up on more than Nintendo. Like I was playing Xbox way before I got like a Wii, and so when I was mainly hyped for the Xbox slash like Bethesda just panel that they had, and I liked a lot of the games that were announced. I feel like there's a lot more just abstract games this year mainly, and like up and coming that haven't been talked about too much. Whereas I definitely think Nintendo brought some stuff back, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But I feel like Nintendo sometimes is a little too predictable for me. Like I feel like I kind of know what they're going to come out with, but it's like I'm not against it because I know it's going to be good. It's just I feel like I'm never like crazy surprised, except for a couple of things this year. And so, but yeah, I think they all had some pretty good shows, especially compared to last E3, where there's like not a whole lot, especially with like Rona just hitting and all that. I definitely think this is much better this year. So yeah, I'm glad we get to talk about it a bit more.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like there's quite a bit of things here to talk about when it comes to upcoming games and stuff. Before we get into like the first game that we want to talk about, I mean, I think the elephant in the room is that a lot of people were expecting an announcement for a new Nintendo Switch, like Switch Pro or Super Nintendo Switch, something like that. Yeah, Nick, you were kind of on board with that too, and like so many like different like news stories have been covering that and basically saying that it's a done deal and that Amazon even like had accidentally posted something and then that was taken down. Um, and yeah, even IGN actually a couple hours before the Nintendo, I woke up like at 7. The E3 for Nintendo was at 9, and IGN was like kind of hyping up some stuff, like in anticipation for the Nintendo stuff to roll out. And yeah, they were talking about how they were gonna announce the Switch Pro and all the different like specs and details on the new Switch, and we didn't get a single word or mention about a new Switch. And I kind of have mixed feelings about that. I mean, it on one hand it's a bummer, but on the other hand, it's like I've been like so focused on getting a PS5 and like also really bummed that it's this difficult that I really don't want to have any issues with that happening with the Switch. And I know that um, there's a limited supply on certain parts and like I think certain chips that go into making some of these consoles, stuff like that. Uh, so I would hate to see the same thing happen with the next Nintendo console. So a part of me also feels like even though that it's a bummer that we don't get it, it's good for them to take their time and make sure that when they do release the next console for Nintendo, that they're going to have more than enough in stock for everyone. But what do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, I think kind of what you're talking about is the chips and just the supply of it. I think the fact that they can't even have the game dates for this stuff, like concrete, like it's pretty concrete these days that these games are going to come out when they're talking about. But I think it's so hard to think about that stuff and then talk about bringing in a whole new console, especially when people can barely get their hands, like you said, on PS5s and the new Xboxes and stuff. So I think it's just hard to consider that stuff right now. But it's also I was definitely surprised that they didn't announce anything because I feel like the trailers this year for games looked a lot more like demanding, like even the Mario games and all that stuff. I feel like they looked way more demanding than they have looked in the past, just like gameplay wise, compared to the Switch right now. So I definitely think it's coming at some point. It's so hard to set a concrete date on this kind of stuff because I'm sure making it right now is so difficult.
Yeah, good point. Nick, how do you feel about all that?
I I'm a little disappointed that they didn't announce anything, specifically like in the terms of a new system. But at the same time, it's like I agree with you. Like hopefully they do take their time and whatever they need to work out with the new system, they get it worked out because the technology that supposedly Nintendo has not trademarked, but is as said to, I don't know, copyright or whatever. It's pretty interesting technology, where it can like
Yeah,
upscale. I think it uses RTX or something along those lines. I think the name of it is called DLSS, which is essentially like just really quickly. Um, you can take an older game, and I think it's almost like there's an AI that's able to take this older game, not like older, let's say like Xeno Blade Chronicles, right?
Yeah,
So you take that game, and if you put it in this new system with this new algorithm or AI or whatever's in it, it's able to upscale it to like 4K and make everything look really nice. So yeah, take all the time in the world that you want Nintendo to make that work, because that's like amazing.
yeah,
That's
it's groundbreaking.
Yeah, it's crazy backwards compatibility, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
so that would be really cool. But at the same time, I was like, I told my wife, I was like, okay, you're going to be home. I need you to wake up at 9, and I need you to just sit on, like, just wait. Because if they announce it, I don't want another PS5 situation on our hands. Like, it's just going to, because I mean, guaranteed, like, unfortunately, like, that's the world we live in right now, where a lot of these parts are just in demand, and PS5s are hard to come by. And I feel like if Nintendo was to announce any new console at any given point in whatever this weird period that we're living in, there probably will be scalpers and people that will buy a ton of them and then sell them back for like 1,000 or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. So I was like, to you need to stay on the stream, and if they announce a pre-order, please pre-order it like immediately, because Nintendo's the type of people, like especially with Smash Bros, where it's like new characters out. When's it gonna be out? Tomorrow. And it's like, oh my god, okay, that's amazing. But at the same
Yeah.
time, with something like that, you're like, oh my god, rush over to my computer now. I need to buy it or pre-order it. So I was like, I told her,
Right.
just please, like, finger on the trigger, finger on the enter button, like, please pre-order it. But it didn't happen,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of thankful it didn't at the same time, and I'm a little bummed. So anyway, long story short, yes, I agree with you, Dom. You can move on. I'm sorry.
Well,
No,
actually,
that was good. That was
Jake
good.
Hedge has a good point. We did get a new system.
Yeah,
So
We got a Game and Watch announcement. So
we
there you
did.
go.
We can bring that up on the screen too, actually.
Oh my gosh.
ooh.
Yeah.
So there it is, the Switch Pro. The Switch
what-
Pro.
You know what that looks like? It looks like someone just threw a random little mini Game Boy in a deck of cards box.
I feel
That's
like
what this
I've bought
kinda
this
looks
on
like.
Amazon before.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like.
Wish.com.
Yeah, on Wish.
Yeah, so this
On my
is
local
a new
Goodwill.
a new Game and Watch handheld device, and it's for the Zelda anniversary. So it has 4 Zelda games that you can play on it. Kind of cool, but definitely a little bit pointless, and also just a bummer. But
It'll be scalped within the first 2 days.
Oh my
all we know.
not expecting too much from that, and won't be getting that. But that's cool. It's something. But why don't we get to the exciting stuff, guys? Nick had mentioned Smash Bros. 3 of us are big fans. We play quite a bit, really into the scene, and let's start there. We got the announcement for the next DLC. This is the second to last, right? The penultimate character for the final DLC characters coming out, and it is from Tekken.
Dude.
What do you think, Nick? I know you're waiting to talk about it.
I'm floored, because I know Bandai Namco is a very big part of Smash Bros. Now.
Yeah.
Like, when I was on that a while back with you and Jake talking about, my, like, towards the end of that episode, like, the characters that I wanted, I really wanted like another fighting game character, and if Tekken would make sense, because Bandai Namco also helps out with Tekken, if not is the main, I don't know, producer of Tekken. I don't remember. Don't quote me on it.
I can't remember either.
But yeah, like, it makes sense that they went with Kazuya, because Kazuya is Heihachi's kid, and Heihachi is a assist trophy. It totally makes sense that they went with him. Dude, it blows my mind that he has like almost all his moves from Tekken. And the 2 best ones are twin. I think it's twin pistons or twin pistons and electric wind god fist. And it's like, I've played Tekken 7 before for a little bit, and like online, people just think like if they're Kazuya, they just do electric wind god fist like over and over and over again, and it's kind of like it's like a Shoryuken motion, and then and then forward, and then a couple buttons, I think. But anyway, it's like, people try and do that. They also have him wave dashing. Did you notice that in the video? They have him wave dashing.
I don't remember that, actually.
No.
Okay, so
I'll have to
you'll
watch
have
it
to
again.
go.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think they call it something different. But
Yeah,
but in
they have a name
Tekken,
to it.
Yeah, in Tekken you can wave dash. You can wave dash forward and you can wave dash backward. And I think the backwards one in the fighting game community, I think it's called the Korean backdash because like Korean players were the ones to master I think that wave dash like move
Yeah,
backward. Dude, I'm floored. Everything about it looks
yeah,
amazing. I'm ready for him to be out. I'm just wondering like cuz Tekken is a 4-button fighter and if he has all those moves, is I'm just wondering how they're mapping the buttons, in my opinion, because normally Tekken is like uh, two buttons will be left, I think left hand, right hand, and then the two other buttons are left foot, right foot. And I'm
Well, could
just
they do
wondering,
something similar to Min Min? You know what I'm saying?
maybe.
You know
I don't
where
really know.
where the A button and the B button are both of Min Min's hands.
Oh yeah, they could. Yeah, they could do that. Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do something like that. He'll probably have like all his motions though for sure.
yeah.
I
It
I
was
mean
just
if
weird because going through the video, it looked like he had a full like combo set, like
dude
he had a full on list of everything, you know?
he had his 10 string. Like
Yeah,
a 10 string combo in Tekken is literally you have to press 10 buttons at the right time to get that to come out. So it's like what how, like I hope that's not mapped to like I hope it's not like Marth where or Roy or any of the Fire Emblem characters like that where you have to just hit B at the right time. That would be kind of I feel like it'd be so cool to just have like the actual 10 hit combo like press these buttons at this specific time. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm stoked. I'm stoked.
Is this gonna be your
Um
new guy?
honestly, yeah. I think
You
so.
think
I
so?
think so I just want to know his recovery cuz like Terry's recovery is pretty bogus and no matter what you use at the ledge when you're trying to come back on stage, he like his hitbox just comes above the stage and then he grabs onto the ledge. It's like in my opinion, there's no good recovery. So like with Kazuya in these like the Street Fighter characters though have like they actually grab onto the ledge. I don't think they come up above the ledge to get hit like Terry does. So I'm just kind of interested at like what's his air game. That's that's kind of what it comes down to in my opinion. But I'm still gonna try main him. Absolutely.
yeah.
I
I'll give
feel
him a
like
shot because he has a spike from the looks of it. So I'm
Yep.
in.
I feel like none of the like Shoto fighters are very good in the air. I think they really capitalize on the ground game, in my
hmm
opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it just
Terry
makes
might be the
sense.
best in the air, though.
I agree.
I'm not sure.
I agree. I think Terry is the best in the air, just because I mean, all the Shotos I think have that spike. They pretty much have the same spike where it hits you at an angle. Especially and Kazuya too. Like you saw it in the video where he jumps up and he has like, and that's a like a classic Tekken move. That's like universal with all the characters is that jumping like I don't know what it was called in the video, but all of them have that, and then all of them have like the crouching kick or the crouching medium. Um, so it's I don't know, man. I'm just ready for it. I'm ready for him. June 28th can't come fast enough.
Yeah, is that next week?
Yeah, it's next week.
Yeah. So
Well, Nick will definitely have to do another Smash Bros episode for that.
I'm sorry, it's a little over 2 weeks, or I'm sorry, a little under 2 weeks. So like all next week, and
we
then
can have.
Okay. Well,
Monday
yeah.
next week, or whatever.
Regardless, we'll definitely be doing a Smash Bros episode on that.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll even incorporate some live gameplay. So that'll be cool. But yeah, Ethan, did you want to say anything else on Kazuya before we move on to the next game?
I was never crazy into Tekken. I think I only played it once or twice, but
I don't think I've ever played it.
I was just surprised because I wasn't expecting like that many other like fighters to really come in for these last two from actual like fighting games. So yeah, I think it's cool that they add him in. It was definitely one I wasn't expecting, so it's cool. But I do think having a character with like legitimate combos and stuff and combo strings in Smash Bros would be really interesting to see, because I think a lot of pro players would do really crazy with that. So we'll just see how much it'll make me rage in online. But yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe you guys feel this way too. I'm just glad we didn't get another sword character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because well, didn't it feel like it was like a bunch of sword characters back to back at one point? I could be wrong, but I don't know. It almost felt like that. Maybe
I think
not. It
I think it's
just,
just because we see so many sword characters in general. Like I feel like everyone has a sword character under their belt that they play.
yeah.
So I feel like every time I hop online, it's like one after another. But yeah,
But yeah, that'll be really interesting to see how Kazuya plays, and looking forward to that. So let's move on. We got this Guardians of the Galaxy game announced, which is coming to the Switch as well.
Eh,
You guys
that
feel any sort of way about this?
kind of feel like Star Lord right there. You know, he's kind of like meh. It's like meh.
Ethan, what about you?
look, I would be more hyped for this if their Avengers game didn't like completely bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main thing is, but this game is very different from it. So I I think it has a lot of like promise, and I think the idea of just like playing as Star Lord is different instead of like swapping between them. But it looks pretty like interesting and like a different story that I don't think we've really seen before. Especially because Guardians of the Galaxy most people don't know about like outside of the MCU now. So I think
Yeah.
exploring a bit more, and they could do a really good job at that. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I think it looks really good. Like I think the character designs look really cool and different. So I was actually really excited for that.
I'm not sure exactly what this means. You didn't like Black Widow's chiseled chin.
Oh no, that we don't need to talk about the models in that game. They did fix
What's
them,
that?
but it was too late. Well, the models and
Did she look
um,
weird? She looked weird.
yeah, half the characters looked very weird. Even like
Oh,
Thor, I think had some issues. Captain America looked bad. They all looked really yikes for a minute, and it was too late by the time they got the. They announced they had the game announced for years, and by the time they finally released like gameplay of it, it was just bad. And so they're like, all right, well, we got to redo it again. And by the time they finally released it, like there's no hype around it, and even then, the game just wasn't good enough. So
well, that's too bad.
yeah, I do think this game will be good though. I think it has some good promise. I'm curious to see how it plays out and all that. But
Nick, should we move on?
Yeah, let's just hope Square Enix can do a good job.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Play it safe, and keep your expectations like here, so that when the bar is, you know, met and or overachieved, then you're like, all right, this is a pretty good game.
Yeah, because
Keep
it's
it low.
annoying because Square Enix is a really like I think a really good developer, like game developer company. Like they're really solid. Like I've been playing one of their games recently, and I think that they're an amazing developer. But it's kind of hit or miss right now with the Marvel games, especially outside of like the Spider-Man games. It's been hit or miss. So.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I mean, they should have got Insomniac, dude.
Yeah, Insomniac would be
Oh
perfect for
well.
this kind of stuff.
Oh well.
Really.
In a different timeline.
All right. Speaking of different timelines, we
Oh
got
my gosh, I forgot about
we
this.
got monkeys and balls again,
Let's go, dude.
rolling around like
Monkey
little
balls.
hamsters.
Let's go.
Banana Mania. Did you guys ever play any of the Super Monkey Ball games?
Totally not. Totally
Yep.
not. Never.
Oh, I did.
Ethan did too.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Dude, some of them were pretty fun.
They are fun. I want to play it. I was actually really hyped for this because I'm like, you're telling me I get to go through like everything like remastered basically, and
Yeah,
so I think that'll be super fun just to go through it now. And
I remember liking the boxing one, but also like the races that you can do are also pretty cool. I had forgotten about that actually.
yeah, so I'm really hyped for it. I think it's a fun game to possibly rage on. So it'll be cool.
Um, Jake asked, where was it? Does Ethan play Knockout City?
In fact, I played Knockout City so much I can no longer play Knockout City because I think the deal was is once you hit level 25 now you can't play it. Like you have to buy the game, um, and so I'm well over level 25. But I think the game's super fun, and maybe I'll try downloading it on another console or something. That is something I thought of. I might work, um, even though I thought it was linked, but I guess not. So yeah, I love the game. I think it's definitely it's fun and new. So
Yeah, and for whoever's watching, listening, we've been playing quite a bit of Knockout City here on the channel. Doesn't look like we're going to stop anytime soon, but we'll definitely have to mix it up with some more games. And like going back to Monkey Ball for just a second, I think that could be a fun party game that we do with like a big group of people. So
we'll
see
see who
about
can
that.
finish a world first.
Yeah. And we'll have Nick on here. He can speed run through
Yeah, we'll be
Monkey Ball.
speed running. We'll be speed running through Monkey Ball. See who does it the
Yeah.
fastest.
Yeah, right, dude.
I would love to do that. I would
That'd
love
be
to do.
fun. That'd be fun to do if there was a way to like put all three of our screens here.
Yeah,
That'd be so cool. But no, I would fit. I would, dude. I would. It would take me so long to get like Super Monkey Ball bearings back.
I haven't played it in
Like,
years.
I
Yeah,
haven't. Yeah, I haven't played it in so long. But I remember the first one, the second one. I played it all the time as a kid. They're very good.
All right. So Mario Party Superstars coming out in October 29th.
yeah.
Thoughts?
I'm
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little confused on the release of this, as to what exactly is new. Like, is it an addition to Mario Party, but just with the newer maps, or are they pulling like a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? You
That
know,
was a little strange. Yeah.
It,
I do think that it's a separate
I
new
think
game,
I
though.
think it's kind of like a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe deal where they're just adding more like the old school. They're adding two old school maps in, and I think maybe some new characters or something like that. But I feel like nothing like gameplay wise really seemed that different. So I feel like that's kind of what's going to happen. Is it's just going to be Mario Party, but with like a few more stages and I don't know. But what do you guys think?
I honestly thought it was like it's almost like an HD remaster because they have well, I say it loosely because they had four maps that were from older Mario Party games. They had
Yeah,
Space World is an older one that they showcased like in the trailer. I think the Peaches, whatever
they have
the
a Peach
Cake
one on there.
World,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the Cake one's an older one. I think the other two I can't even remember. I don't even know if they showed them, but
No, I think they only showed those two, but they definitely announced four. I think.
yeah, those two are from older titles, and I don't know if they're from the same one or not. But I do think I think it's just neat. I think it's a neat game. Well, I mean, I just think it's a neat idea that they went back and like brought old stuff back and brought the old way of playing Mario Party back. Because I know in newer versions of the game, I'd never really played the newer versions, and I never played the newest one, the Super Mario Party. But I know they changed up quite a bit throughout the later iterations of it. But it's cool that they went back and like even the older. I think all the mini games are like just throughout maybe those older titles. I don't know how far back, or I'm sorry, I don't know how far like I don't know what the scope is, like if they're just going from Mario Party 1 mini games to like Mario Party 4, or like if
Yeah,
it's Mario Party 1 all the way. Um, but I think it's a great idea. Like I wasn't I didn't think that Nintendo was gonna do anything like this, and so seeing it actually, like, I was surprised. It was kind of a nice surprise. I think it's pretty cool. I'll probably end up getting it at some point. Okay, here we go. I'm on Nintendo's website right now. So it says,
Oh yeah.
let's see, Mario Party boards and mini games. It features 5 classic boards from Nintendo 64 era and a collection of 100 mini games across the Mario Party series. So it's probably just like people's favorite games from all of them,
yeah,
in my opinion. But it's just like it's got 5 classic boards and maybe some other ones,
yeah,
and it just seems like the HD remaster of what older Mario Party is. So
yeah.
that's
That'd be
cool.
super nice.
Yeah,
More button mashing, the better, you know. So
absolutely. More lost friendships, the better.
yeah,
My favorite game is the new. I've told you both the new baseball game that they have added. Super fun.
Oh yeah, you showed me that video and it did look pretty cool.
Yeah, super fun. But all right, if you guys don't have anything else to say about Mario Party, um, let's move on to what I think is like the other most hype thing from Nintendo that we just got, and that
Shin
is
Megami. Oh, just kidding.
are we
Met-
dreading it out? Yep.
Metroid Dread,
Yeah,
That did look pretty cool.
a new 2D side scroller, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
In HD.
The game does look good.
It looks
yeah.
amazing.
I don't know.
Uh,
Whenever I think of this like 2D like format, and I know it's a Metroid thing, but whenever I think of it now, I think of Smash Bros. Brawl, like the story mode, and that's all I can think of like when playing through this stuff. But I think it looks really good. Like, um, I think that like the different cuts they had of like the enemies and stuff, and them kind of like popping out or whatever. Um, I think it's pretty cool, and it looks really cinematic for such a like a 2D game, you know. So
yeah,
I think, and Samus looks sick, like the new outfit and
the
everything.
new colors are so cool, dude.
Yeah,
That is
and
really cool.
again, this is why Smash Bros needs skins
Yeah,
in the game. Like, come on, um, they're really missing out with stuff like this. But yeah, I think it looks super good, and I know people have been wanting, because it's been a long time since a 2D like this for,
yeah, almost 2 decades.
yeah, it's been ages. And it's kind of funny how like nonchalantly they dropped this game. Like I don't think many people were really like. I think we were expecting it to some extent, but just the way they
Yeah.
dropped it, I thought was funny.
Well, it's because everyone was expecting a new like I don't know. I think follow up to like the last Metroid Prime. I think is what a lot of
Mhm.
people were expecting, and they kind of said that that's still a thing that they're working out and still uh, developing. That's still a plan, but this is also just
Placeholder.
kind of. But yeah, definitely has that nostalgia like for like old school Metroid fans.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
Nick, you
oh, sorry.
weren't too excited about it?
I think the game looks good. I've never been a big Metroid person, so I've been
Yeah.
more like in the Metroidvania genre that is now, in this day and age. I've been more of a Castlevania like fan than a Metroid fan, even though they're both pretty much the same thing. It's like, I don't know, I just grew up more with Castlevania.
For
But
me, it was Mega Man.
yeah, okay. So like
Pokemon.
what was I gonna say? I'm again on the website. It's so crazy that, yeah, in 19 years. So literally this is a sequel to Fusion, which I played Fusion on the Game Boy and I actually really liked Fusion. Um but like I don't know the story at all. It's just like I think Metroid, or I think Metroid. I think Samus's new parry mechanic is pretty interesting, and I hope. I just hope that the game slaps. It looks good. The parry mechanic is interesting. New suit is cool. Please be a good game. I say, give me a good game.
Yeah.
Metal Slug. Have you heard of that game, Nick?
Absolutely, it's a good game too. Well,
Yeah,
they
Jake says
released a
2D
new.
always brings me back to Metal Slug.
Oh yeah, yep, dude. Metal Slug in the arcade was like pretty lit. Um, that's where I remember playing it a lot. I know it's for consoles and stuff, but there was an arcade version that I would play with my dad sometimes. And man, it was just like it was pretty chaotic, but in a good way.
In the best way.
In
Nice.
the best way. Well, and they made a, not to get off track from Nintendo, but I think they released a new Metal Slug. I think it's called Metal Slug Tactics. I didn't watch anything on it. I just
Interesting.
read some stuff on it. So maybe Jake should check that out too.
Well, hey, before we move on to the next few games that we're going to talk a little bit about, for our viewers, listeners out there, hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And continue to let us know your thoughts on these games. Also, a big part of this show that we do on Wednesdays is we give our recommendations about things that we're watching, games that we're playing. And so we always love hearing from you guys. So let us know in the chat what you're into right now. All right. Dragon Ball Z, Kakarot.
Yeah.
September 24th. This isn't, it's somewhat of a new game, but it's not like brand new.
It's a DLC, I think, is the proper term for it, because there's been 2 DLCs so far for Kakarot in general, because Kakarot, the base game, kind of goes through like Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z. I think mainly Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And the 2 DLCs they've had before this are kind of going over like Dragon Ball Super stuff, whether that's like Resurrection F or like Battle of Gods, like kind of saga. And so this one, I think, goes into it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of Dragon Ball Z, kind of Dragon Ball Super, but I don't really remember. It's definitely like future Trunks kind of deal. So,
yeah, I definitely want to play the Trunks storyline.
Yeah, I haven't played through Kakarot yet, but I've definitely been wanting to get it because I think it's kind of cool going through and kind of playing through those old sagas that were like actually good, like the best sagas. Especially because I think it's like the Cell and the Majin Buu and all that. I think those are kind of the main ones, and I think there's the Vegeta and Frieza, so that's pretty cool.
And is it the case where it's already kind of been out, like the starter game, like for the other consoles, and now it's kind of like rolling onto Switch? Is that
I think
kinda
it's
what it
been
is?
out on. Is it just going on the Switch, or has
Yeah,
it been out for Switch?
I think so.
No, it hasn't. Yeah, it's just now coming out on the Switch. I know it's been
Okay.
out for like PS4 and Xbox. I don't know about PC, but it's technically an older game, but now it's on the Switch.
Yeah, Nick, any thoughts on it?
I don't know. I don't have any thoughts really on the Nintendo version, but the Nintendo version has like all the DLC. Is that what I'm assuming?
Well, I think I don't know. So Nintendo version, you can get all the DLC, but like what they announced was like just the one DLC for it. I think they kind of announced it for everyone, but I think every panel kind of had it. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I only recently saw something about a new DLC coming out where it's the I think it's based off one of the movies, the Android movie with 17 and 18, because I just saw this sick fight between one-armed Gohan and 17 and 18.
Yeah, that's this one. One.
Oh, that is this one? Oh
Mhm.
Shoot, I might have to buy it because
So yeah, that's what I was thinking about is that's why I think it's kind of Dragon Ball Z, kind of Dragon Ball Super, because Dragon Ball Z I think goes more into the androids and like future Trunks with the androids.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like Goku Black might kind of be in it. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's kind of a bigger story though. So,
Interesting.
but yeah,
I might
this one's
about that.
definitely one arm Goku level. So,
Bro.
or not
This
Goku,
kinda-
Gohan. Better.
Or yeah,
Gohan.
did I say one arm Trunks? I meant to say one arm Gohan.
No,
I
you
think you
did.
said
You did.
Go. You said Gohan. I messed
Okay.
it up.
This kind of
it's
hurts
okay.
me a little bit. Didn't
It's
grow
never
up-
too late, my guy.
Yeah, Alex says I didn't grow up on a lot of Nintendo systems. I didn't enjoy all those classic titles.
Me either.
It's not too late, and Nintendo is amazing.
I got one suggestion for you. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go out and you're gonna buy the Game and Watch off of Wish, and you're gonna play those Zelda titles, okay? And you're not gonna miss out. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna have.
They might be called Link games instead of Zelda games, though.
Yeah, that's
Is what it's really gonna be.
This is what
It's
you're
gonna
looking
be
for.
Link and the
This is what
Twilight
you're looking for
Princess.
right here.
It's gonna be called The Legend of Link. Okay,
That's right.
go find it on wish.com.
Anyways, moving forward. So, this could be a game that I get down with. And I know it's something that Nick gets down with. It's also another pretty big title. I feel like it's gotten more and more popular, but that is Monster Hunter. And Nick, why don't you tell us about this new one?
Yeah. So this new one, it's story based. That's all I got. I don't know. I'm not interested really in this one. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It looks.
Oh my gosh!
Perfect, dude.
Nice seeing you guys.
I don't know. It's like Monster Hunter Pokemon, and I don't know. Just maybe I'll just have to give it a try and not pass judgment because it's not like Monster Hunter.
Ethan.
Yeah. So I was actually pretty hyped for this one. I watched some gameplay at they're doing it live on the show. They're kind of going through all the games that were announced for Nintendo and they're playing it a bit. But
yeah, the Treehouse, right?
Yeah, Treehouse. And so it's kind of like a spin-off of Monster Hunter in a way because they're not hunters, they're like monster riders. And so it's kind of like a different take on it. And so it's not like you're fighting monsters the whole time. So it's kind of like why you get to like ride around on a monster and you're like hatching them and stuff and kind of just living your life with them. But I think it looks pretty interesting. And I don't know. I've never been crazy into Monster Hunter, but I do like those games. So, but the gameplay looked pretty just like chill and it looked pretty interesting. So
It looked the most
I'm down.
interesting out of all of them to me, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of alone with that. I don't know. For some reason, it stood out. I liked the animation a lot for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I do agree.
I think it
like
looks cool.
The game looks good. And
It's
it
like
looks
Xenoblade to me.
It looks like
Yeah.
which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It looks like there's going to be a free demo June 25th. So I will try the free demo. I won't be that guy and just say, "Oh, this isn't Monster Hunter," which I was that guy for a second, but I'll try it. I'll give it a shot. Give it a fair chance. And
on that note, good night, guys.
Yeah, I know. Do we?
All right, so some classics are coming to the Switch, guys.
Oh,
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered in HD. Let's go, guys.
Yeah.
ready to
Yeah.
pop some tricks on there. Y'all said.
Every kid I know that played like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 as a kid, like they all had skateboard dreams. Like we all had skateboard dreams because of this game. I feel like if you've played this game, everybody wanted to be Tony Hawk.
Shout out to Nick because he's my friend who taught me actually how to skateboard. Basically,
what? No, I didn't. I taught you. No,
basically, yeah. You
Shut up.
basically taught me in like you taught me how to ride a board in like a couple minutes.
No way. I thought you always knew. Really? Well,
No shot.
every time. No, I mean that's
No,
I feel I feel I feel honored. That's crazy. That's cool.
little fun fact. Also, I come to find out more and more that I have a way better memory than pretty much most of my family and friends. Like I'll bring up stories and stuff and like no one remembers, but like I'm literally not making them up.
Dude, I totally believe you. That's so funny.
And yeah, everyone's always like, We have such a bad memory, like we don't remember all that stuff." Jake says, "Me and Nick got a shred." Dude, I'll shred.
Yeah.
We'll all shred.
We'll come out to Cali. Came out with one. They just came out with one.
You were
Like
sponsored,
Tony Hawk?
Jake?
Weird flex, but I'm just kidding.
No,
That's
that's
pretty
cool,
big
man.
flex. That's a cool flex.
I gotta hear more about this. Nice, dude.
Yeah, that's tight.
Okay, you know what? I forgot. There is something there's something else that's really hype. It's really, really hype. That's this. Mario and Rabbids. Sparks of Hope. Let's go, guys.
Did you play the first one?
Um I don't know.
I don't know.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, I own it actually.
You have it.
Okay, then yeah, just Mario and Rabbids, I think is what it's called, right? Or is it
Yeah, I
like
think so.
is there another title to it?
No, I think that's it. It's Mario and
That's it.
Rabbids.
We don't really have to talk much about it.
I feel like we kind of know it's going to be a good game for those that like the style that it's going to be in. Like I never tried it out because it doesn't feel like what I want to like play Mario like. Like that's not the Mario experience I want per se. But like I think everyone knows it's going to be good for like what's actually going to be. So I don't feel like we can be disappointed with a Mario game at this rate. So,
I Me and my friend, well, you guys know Jordan. Um,
nope.
there was a few times where we hung out, had some snacks, a couple of brews, and we played Mario and Rabbids. Like it's basically turn-based. It's almost like chess a little bit, but like turn-based combat, and you're setting up like your moves, and well, we had a lot of fun. It actually the animations too, like were just cracking us up. How like Luigi would get like sniped and then like fall off a huge cliff into the water. It was really funny actually. So I don't know. We'll see. Also, my wife has played a different Mario and Rabbids game. I don't know if it was like for the Wii or something, or maybe the DS, but she remembers the gameplay being a lot different and really liking the game. I initially got the last Mario and Rabbids for her because I thought that she would like it, but she wasn't into like the play style and the turn-based combat. So I don't know exactly what the other game was, but
So the other game she probably was playing was because the Rabbids are like part of Rayman.
Yeah,
Rayman,
it's the Rayman one or
yeah,
well,
yeah,
I think it's called
everybody loves him.
well, they had like
well,
a party game with
Ba-dum
them.
boom.
yeah.
Yeah, like the rabbits had the
No
party
one got
games
that.
going for a while, and it was like kind of like a Mario Party kind of deal, but not really. Like didn't have a board or anything. It was just like weird group games for rabbits.
Yeah, I think it was called Raving Rabbids.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I
and
think so.
yeah, it was a party game. That one was a party game, which I mean, like, dude, the Rabbids to Nintendo are like the Minions to Illumination. Like, it's so crazy how popular I feel like the Rabbids have like gotten. It's weird to me But I know that Mario and Rabbids is a good game. It plays a lot like XCOM, which is like
Yeah.
you have like it's turn based in the sense where you move your guy and then you have X amount of moves to do a couple commands and then the enemy has their turn. So it is kind of like chess. That's actually a pretty good like analogy
Yeah,
for it. But yeah, it is a fun game. The trailer that they showed for this one, the movement kind of looked like different to me, but
it did look a
um
little different than the last one. Yeah,
looked a little more like action, which isn't a bad thing. It's probably going to be a good thing. And then they got that crazy like weird emo rabbit with the sword flying around all crazy.
Yeah, but kind of
yeah,
like what I was saying earlier,
that was
it
sick.
just looks a lot better. Like visually, like I think kind of going into the whole Switch thing, like if they're gonna run a game looking like that,
Thank you, Jake. You're the only one that caught it.
but in
I
hindsight,
said
I get
everybody
it.
loves Rayman.
Yeah, in
I saw
hindsight,
that.
but
Too
yeah,
bad.
I definitely think it'll be a good game. I don't think
It's a good
it has
show,
a
by the
shot.
way. It's a good show.
It's a good show. Wholesome.
Okay, so I mean, we'll kind of like breeze through the fact that what is it? Zelda. What is it? The newer one? You know,
Breath of the
Skyward
Wild.
Sword.
no, Age of Calamity.
No.
That got like another
Oh,
DLC thing. Um, yeah, whatever. Uh, and
Who asked?
Breath of the Wild 2 still not coming out, but we did get a little bit more like footage, a little bit longer trailer, I guess. Um, and yeah, we're taking it to the skies is what it seems like. So yeah, whatever.
In my
all
opinion, what a lame way to end that direct. Like they didn't. I understand the game, and I think it's really anticipated, right? But I don't know. I
I don't
feel
know why. I mean,
what? Yeah, I have no
just
clue
kidding.
why.
Just
But
kidding.
I don't know. I felt like out of the trailer, I was expecting like a bit more, but I guess it's they only have like so much on it. But it definitely looks good. I've noticed people like I feel like people have been, and maybe I just haven't played the game enough, but it looks the exact same to me, like visually for the most part, like style and everything, except like I think the having like a whole area up above is pretty cool, like kind of like floating, I don't know, just cities or whatever. But um, I don't know. I think they're gonna have an issue living up to the first Breath of the Wild for some reason. Like I just have that vibe. Um, but I definitely think it'll be a good game. I don't think it can be bad. It's just a matter of like how different is it actually going to be, or whether it's just going to feel like more like a DLC than like a completely new game. You know, that's kind of where I'm at. Is it just going to be a really big DLC?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I've said it a bunch of times. I think the game is really really good. Really good looking game and fun, like cool combat as well. For me, just me personally, I have a hard time like getting drawn to stuff that I feel is a big commitment when it comes to story. Um, and especially if like there's like in between sections of combat that I just feel like is pretty darn slow. That's just me because a lot of people say that this is like one of the best games out there. Um, and like this is one of my recommendations. I've been getting into Astral Chain, and I brought that up on another one of our episodes. But like that's like I think another game that's a little similar in the sense like the graphics are really good for the Switch, and then also has a really compelling story. But I feel like is faster paced, um, and yeah, so I'm a little bit more drawn to that. But then in general too, like I'm I'm just like way more inclined to play like competitive games like Smash Bros, which is what I mostly play, and then a couple of other ones. But yeah, Nick, did you want to talk a little bit more about Breath of the Wild too?
yeah. So I think Ethan, I do think your points are valid. I wasn't thinking about that because I was very excited that that is where they went back into like the sky essentially.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that is because it makes so much sense with the story, but you would have had to have played Skyward Sword. So this is what I'm gonna say for everyone listening out there. I know we all made fun of Skyward Sword, right?
Don't play it. Don't play it.
Don't sleep on it. It looks like
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nick.
God.
it's fine. No,
I'm
it's fine.
sorry. No.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke. It looks like Skyward Sword is going, it makes sense why they did the HD remaster. It's gonna tie into this. Um it just, that's what it seems like, which isn't a bad thing. I feel like the story behind Skyward Sword is cool. It's cool to know how the Master Sword got forged, and it's cool to know how like he's gone. See ya. Bye. Um it's cool to know how it got
I'm sick
forged.
of this. I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
Oh no.
Anyway,
I'll be right back. Just kidding.
all right. Um I just think the story is cool, the concept is cool. I won't spoil Skyward Sword because there is stuff towards the end that ties into all the other games. But I think I thought when they teased Breath of the Wild 2 at first is like they were under the castle, and so I thought it was all going to be actually underground and something a little bit more along the lines of Majora's Mask.
Gotcha.
Now it looks like, oh, okay, they're going back to the Skyward Sword, like, where people only lived in the sky, and essentially like that's how everything began, kind of. So don't sleep on Skyward Sword because it'll probably have stuff in this game and you'll be like, what's going on? Probably not.
No,
But
yeah. In all seriousness, the story sounds pretty cool, and it also sounds like something that's essential, especially if you're a huge Zelda fan. Because I think a lot of Zelda fans would want to know like those origin stories, like you were saying, Nick. Uh,
mhm.
I will say though that the graphics are a little upsetting, and to me a little bit like when it it was also the way that they had brought it up again, because I don't remember it coming out for the Wii U because I didn't have the Wii U.
Mhm.
Um, but like what was it when they first brought it up? I don't know, a few months ago that it was coming to the Switch. Everyone was expecting more Breath of the Wild 2 stuff that day, and they're like, "We don't have anything, but we do have this." And,
Yeah.
like, my initial thoughts are, this looks like someone tried to make a Zelda game and failed. Initially, that's kind of what the graphics look to me, but, um, I understand it's more so for the story, like I think you were trying to say, and also, I will say like the gameplay and like the mechanics of the game that they've added, like the features and how you can either use the Joy Cons, or you can also, like in handheld mode or whatever, you can swing your sword with the right thumbstick. So that's kind of interesting and kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice just because a lot of people, I mean, that was the biggest gripe about the game is you had to use motion controls for the Wii. Um, I don't think it was on the Wii. I think it was only on the Wii, and that's where I played it. And I never had an issue with the motion controls, but I know during one of the like when they were demoing the game, when they were saying it's going to come out, it was like I think Miyamoto himself, he was trying to use it to like roll a bomb, and he couldn't do it live on stage. Like he was having an issue with the Wii remote trying to roll this bomb, and so it was like, oh no, the motion controls on the Wii, they're terrible. Like why? Um, but I personally never had an issue with it. Like any issues with like movements or like getting a hit to like not come out right, essentially. Um, but I think that it's a good move because a lot of people nowadays are probably not going to want to do motion controls unless you're a little kid. wanting to use motion controls. Like I don't know, that's just my opinion on it. Hopefully the thumbstick doesn't feel weird. I don't think
Yeah.
I'll get it, just because like if I wanted to know the story, that's all I would do it for, is the story. Because here's what I'm going to tell you: if you decide to play the game, the trials portions of the temples are horrible. They are terrible, and it's like it's like a stealth. It's like a stealth segment, and you can't attack, and you have to collect these. I think they're like beads, essentially. Once you get all of them, you have to return them to a certain location without getting caught, like Solid Snake. Because if you get caught, you have to do the whole thing over again. And so that was like a really, really annoying part of the game. But the story is really cool. Like like I said, you get to learn about the Master Sword, um, the origins of a lot of characters, even like the Temple of Time. You get to learn about a little bit about the Temple of Time, which is pretty neat. And you get to learn about what's her Impa. You get to learn a little bit more
Oh,
about
okay.
Impa, which is
She's really
tight.
cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
So it's it's a good game, and when it comes to lore, and now it all makes sense as to why they put that first instead of Breath of the Wild 2, is because they have to have correlation. So don't
Yeah.
sleep on it, but you're gonna hate the trial sections. So I'm sorry.
Jake says RuneScape came out today. Download it immediately. Yes, immediately. No one will get that reference.
Dang, you're right. I didn't. I'm so sorry.
I totally got it. Sorry, dude.
Well, that pretty much wraps up all of our games. Yeah, I think Nick had mentioned that you like RuneScape too, right?
Yeah, I do. I played it a lot, like way a long time ago, when you guys were talking about like
Yeah.
esports and stuff.
So I might have to check that out. I think he said it's on mobile phone right now. That takes care of, all the Nintendo stuff, basically. All the big things that we're kind of excited about, or things that were noteworthy. Were there anything that maybe I missed that stood out to you guys? Like, again, it could have been from Xbox or Sony that you wanted to touch on real quick, and then maybe we can close out with um, some recommendations before we spend kind of our last half hour doing our Loki breakdown or Loki review. But Ethan, anything?
I loved like a lot of the Xbox like demonstration. I would probably get lost in it for another hour, 2 hours. Halo, like we got Halo multiplayer like video, and it looks crazy good. Like in my opinion, like very new gameplay, and that's going to be coming out holiday of this year. So that's coming up soon, and the multiplayer is going to be free, from what I've heard. So except for the story, that's you'll have to get, but the multiplayer is going to be free for everyone, PC and Xbox. So, but there's a lot of crazy good Xbox games that I think have been talked about for a while, like Starfield. There's some other stuff, but yeah,
Is there a new? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Isn't there a new Ratchet and Clank game coming out? But that might be Sony.
yeah, and I don't know. Was there a Sony like show? There wasn't a Sony show, huh? Yeah.
Oh, there
So
wasn't. Oh, that's
Um,
weird.
they
no,
didn't.
but there's
They didn't.
definitely a new Ratchet and Clank coming out. But yeah, and then there's like the Avatar game.
Oh, that's right.
That
Yeah.
was a pretty big deal for everyone. Frontiers of Pandora. That looks. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's
I'm
good.
not crazy. I'm not like that crazy for Avatar, but I definitely think it looks really good. Like visually,
I mean,
think
they
it'll be
took way
crazy.
too long to follow up on the
Yeah.
first movie. A lot of people are still anticipating the new one, but um, yeah, I think that they dropped the ball a little bit and taking so long.
Yeah. There's a
To be
lot.
honest.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of like spin-offs, I think, for gaming like coming out that you guys can look into. But I think there's like a Final Fantasy spin-off that's coming out that looked pretty interesting. I think that's called like Stranger of Paradise.
Yep.
So that I'm actually pretty interested in. Just a lot of stuff like there's a lot of big games that are coming out and just look crazy good. I would be here for way too long if I tried to get into all of them. But yeah, and even all these, like, it's not even knowing that they're like, it's not like they're coming out like this year, but it's just knowing that they're working on them, and like the new technology that they're putting into them is insane and like groundbreaking for sure. Um, like Starfield, I think it's Bethesda. It's like their next huge like RPG game that's coming out next year, and I know everyone's excited to see. And there's like some other games. I don't remember, but there's a heck of a lot in the Xbox Bethesda now, and I think it's just such a great merge that they made, and I think it makes a lot of sense for them to like work together. And I think, like, I love Nintendo, but it's just those are like the games that I felt like I was always seeing. Like when I hopped on Xbox, like those were like always the IPs and stuff that I was like used to. So and for Nintendo, I think we covered everything. I think the only thing we didn't talk about is maybe like WarioWare. I know a
Oh,
lot of
that's
people.
right. Yeah.
I know a lot of people were excited for that because we haven't. There hasn't been another WarioWare game in ages. So that'll be
Yep.
interesting. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm just excited for Halo. Really, I've been waiting for a long time for another Halo. So
Nice. Yeah. Definitely. Really, some really good stories in the Halo franchise. Um, Nick, what do you think? Did you want to move on to some recommendations? How do you feel about that?
Just really quick, I guess some other stuff that I was kind of
Oh
interested
yeah,
in
please.
outside of Nintendo. And there's only a couple because I don't know, not a whole lot caught my eye, and I didn't pay attention to the Xbox. Like, I don't know, I fell off like Xbox for a while, but you saying all that stuff about Halo, I'll have to go back and take a look at like what they released for that, because definitely a Halo fan myself, and that's interesting that they did multiplayer for free. But
yeah,
for me, it's like Outer Wilds, or I'm sorry, the Outer Worlds 2.
yeah. I was gonna say,
That that I was surprised that they're gonna make a second one. But I'm a pretty big fan of the Fallout series, especially New Vegas, and that's the developers of the Outer Worlds games now, Obsidian. So that looks good. Um, Stranger of Paradise, you touched on it really quick. I mean, it looks super corny, like, and it looks bad. Like, it looks
yeah,
bad. And and I don't know, they just it looks like they didn't want to take a gamble with the new IP. So they're like, Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, though. It's Final Fantasy.
yeah,
We're gonna get you. And then you see this gameplay, and I'm like, this game doesn't look that great. And I don't know how they greenlit this. Like, it's kind of corny. Anyway,
yeah. It was
um
random, that's for sure.
yeah, but maybe it'll be good. I don't know. Uh Death Stranding got a director's cut, which I'm probably of the like minority here, but I like Death Stranding even though it's totally a walking simulator. It's just very
Yeah,
relaxing.
I couldn't, dude.
Dude,
I couldn't.
I was like, it's so relaxing,
Oh
and
yeah.
it was pretty fun to like take cargo and use it as an enemy when you're versing, like when you're up against the mules. Like, so the mules
Oh
in the
yeah, yeah.
game, Dom, are like they're literally like crazy delivery men, and they always need packages. And they're the concept behind them is like, you can go into an enemy camp and get a bunch of resources, but you're gonna have to fight a bunch of them, and all they want is your gear. Like, they don't want to kill you or anything. They just want to take all your cargo and like leave you. That's it.
Yeah.
But you can base your game plan around like, have you delivered cargo? Okay, do you have empty cases with you? If you have empty cases, are you going to use that? Like, how will you use them as a weapon? And there's a bunch of other different things like that make the game interesting, even though the majority of it is literally walking. The concept is really amazing, in my opinion. It's calming, but also really tense, and I don't know. It's cool that it's getting a director's cut. Um, and then
Yeah.
one last game. It's an indie game. I hope it's not just on Xbox, but it's called Somerville,
Mhm.
and it's made by it's made by the guy that made Inside, which Inside is actually a pretty cool game as well.
Yeah.
And this one, I mean, this looks crazy good. Also, don't know what's going on. It's like totally sci-fi. You're a family running around trying to, I don't know, escape or maybe get somewhere. Or I don't know
Yeah.
what, but it looked really cool.
There's a lot of good like indie games, like random indie games that were announced that look super interesting, and I think look better than some of the like AAA games that they were announcing. So it's
Yeah,
crazy.
there were a couple. I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head, but I just know Somerville stuck out a lot to me. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah,
Nice.
those are kind
Yeah.
of the ones.
Yeah. Thanks, man. We do have to move forward just a little bit. But Nick, did you have any like quick recommendations?
Play Stardew Valley. That's it. Sorry.
There you go.
All right, Ethan, you got anything?
Um, Outriders. It's a pretty great game. Square Enix did it. If you want a good Square Enix game, Outriders. It's kind
What
of like
kind of
Destiny.
what? It's like Destiny.
Yeah, it's kind of like a grinding game, but it's fun. It's chill. I recommend. Or get ready for the new Halo. One or the other.
Is it story mode, third person shooter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We're watching the new series Sweet Tooth right now. Kind of like, still a little skeptical. I don't know how it's gonna all turn out. Sometimes I'm a little skeptical when it comes to some of like the Netflix original stuff, but heard a lot of really good things. It's becoming a super popular show. I feel like it might take off like Stranger Things too, which is what it's kind of looking like so far. But yeah, it's been really great so far. First two episodes we watched, just a little bit on it. Basically, kind of timely actually that it's based around a pandemic, and but it definitely has like a lot of fantasy and a little bit of like sci-fi vibes. Um, don't want to say too much because a lot of things will kind of spoil it, but um, it's also interesting too. And it's kind of weird because the pandemic has actually been kind of a touchy subject, especially for families and stuff who it's affected. Um, there are some things I feel like kind of like raise awareness to and just are interesting because in the story, you really see the world fall apart, like to like a crazy degree where it's almost like you're really struggling and everyone is like has to be like a survivor, just like to like the extreme level. You know what I'm saying? Um, so it's pretty interesting in that aspect. And then the there's a bunch of other stuff like the main character, but if I say too much on the main character, it'll kind of give away some of the good stuff about the show. So yeah, you should maybe check that out, Sweet Tooth. And then I'm also finishing up the Netflix Transformer series. So, War for Cybertron, awesome.
Nice.
And oh yeah, we've been playing a lot of Knockout City, and I think that's pretty much it for recommendations.
Yeah, definitely Knockout City is a recommendation for sure. It took me by surprise, so it's a good game.
Yeah, and me and Nick are going to be playing very soon, actually. So you guys can check that out. Don't forget about Starfighter Gaming.
Right here. Oh,
Yep.
now it's there.
Well, that does it for our everything nerdy portion of the show. Nick, thanks for being on. We
Thanks for having me, guys.
appreciate your takes and your insight into these games and just the video game world in general.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
TLDR,
absolutely.
Kazuya's great, and don't sleep on Skyward Sword. If you got anything out of this, that's it.
All right, man.
All
Well,
right.
we will
Good
see you next
words.
time. We're going to bring on our next guest. Thanks a lot, Nick.
Sounds good. See you guys.
See you, babe.
we're going to bring on our next guest because we are going to be breaking down, well, we're going to be doing our heavy spoiler review of Loki episode 2. And so
So get out of here.
he's getting pretty hype. He's getting pretty hype in the green room. So let's bring him on. There he is. Jake Hedge is back. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going
Does it sound
good.
okay?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll put you up a little higher on volume, but besides that, yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed it was a little bit low, but dude, I am super hyped. I am ready to go. This unfortunately, I enjoyed the live. That was amazing. Unfortunately, we're gonna get cut off a little bit here, but dude, this episode was major, and there's so much to talk about from what was revealed and where it's going to go. So I'm hyped.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. Guys, why don't we start with again, we're going into our Loki spoiler review. So thanks for tuning into the everything nerdy portion of the show. And so if you don't want to get spoiled, maybe you want to head out. But if you don't mind talking Loki, then please, by all means, stay with us. We're also going to clip this out later for a separate video of its own. So you can always watch that later on replay. But yeah, why don't we start out, as always, with some initial thoughts right off the bat. Jake, you want to take us into that? Your thoughts?
I mean, just big time. It was a great episode. A lot was revealed, and like I said, I'm just excited to see what comes next. So, excellent episode, and the whole thing. I'm gonna say it probably every single week. I'm gonna keep saying it. Morbius and Loki are they're perfect, man. They're just spot on. So happy to see them interacting.
Yeah, totally. What do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, I think we're kind of getting right into this whole series. Even on episode 2, there's already a lot dropped, and I think we're kind of expecting it because when you're dealing with kind of like a multiverse topic, you're gonna have to explain a lot super fast. And I think with only 6 episodes, it's picking up very quickly. And so I really enjoyed it so far, and I think you learned a lot in this episode just by itself. And so I'm like, if we're already this far on the second episode, like I have no clue how crazy things are going to get in the next 4. So yeah, I thought it was super good, and yeah, it's more Mobius and Loki just stealing it again throughout the episode, and I think their dynamic shines out in a lot of it. So
Absolutely. I mean, I think this was better than episode 1. Even I think it's getting better and better. I was even telling Nick because he's not caught up on Loki. Otherwise, he would be right here with us doing the review as well. But he watched both WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Even already, I think it is kind of a little bit early to say this, but I like it even more than those other 2 shows so far.
yeah,
And this is also coming from a person who has never been super invested in Loki's character. Uh, it's just everything. It's the acting that I think is so fantastic. I also just like really love the cinematography, and I know I kind of said something bad about like that one desert scene, but that was like literally my only gripe, and that lasted for just a few seconds. But like the ongoing color scheme that they have, um, I think is like really cool, and it's kind of like a warmer tone, and also a little bit futuristic. I'm just digging it, man. And the mystery. Oh, and I can't forget, but the music is really good in this show as well. I mean, it builds the suspense perfectly, and then you like mix in the humor here and there. It's really good so far. Really loving this series.
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
I think it's a perfect blend of everything. I think they're doing a really good job. And for us going into the show, I think a big part of it is how it's going to connect with what's going to be happening going forward. Because I think leading up to um, you know, multiverse of madness is kind of what we're all waiting for. Like that's probably going to be the big game changer in the universe.
Yeah.
And so leading up to it, I didn't think this show could have a big impact on it, but now I'm like, this could be like a very big deal when it comes to like a multiverse and just how it works out. And um, I think this show is going to have more pull to it than the other two, and I think it already has had more like played more of a role in the future of this universe than WandaVision or Falcon Winter Soldier. And so, and just in 2 episodes, like it's crazy what they've done with it already. So I'm super excited to see what they do, and I think the show's just production is super good, and like the Easter eggs in this are I think are crazier than any Easter eggs so far in like the past 2 shows we've had. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think for me, like the thing with it is that um, I feel like it's kind of a mixture, honestly, between WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier because what I've been through this. I mean, I nerd out on it, so I go and I find everybody on YouTube and I'll theorize with them and whatever. And theorizing was like a huge part of WandaVision, and then like the buddy cop aspect is a huge part. Like the buddy cop, like two guys getting together, is like a huge part of Falcon Winter Soldier, and so this is like just like a combination of both those shows where Falcon Winter Soldier didn't really give us too many Easter eggs. It wasn't like you couldn't really theorize about it too much, but this show is like mind blowing, like WandaVision, but it also gives us like that humor and stuff that comes with Falcon Winter Soldier. So it's honestly like the best of both worlds for me. It's been great.
Yeah, I think it kind of
Yeah.
gives the realism of like Falcon Winter Soldier, but mixed with like the scale, of, like the possible scale of like WandaVision, like just like the tone of it, like you're still dealing with like like gods and cosmic and stuff, and I think having that level, but then you have Mobius and this like you know this whole just system, and it feels so realistic, and I think taking something that's so like cosmic and confusing and mixing it with something that's very like real, like a job, like a bit like and I think it's funny just seeing how it all comes together, and I think they've done a really good job of it, and it works really well with this whole story that they're setting up.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we just like dive right in, quick shout out to the Inner Geekdom show, which I watch, and it's with Winston Marshall and Dwayne Burke is like the man behind the camera, the tech guy. But both of them like really know their comic book stuff and give like really great breakdowns. So I love watching their stuff as well. But yeah, what stood out to you guys? We'll start with Jake. Like just like from the very beginning, the opening sequences for this story, and kind of pushing things forward from where we left off with last week. Anything that just like really caught your attention that you wanted to touch on?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Let me
Yeah, I know.
see.
Sorry.
Well, from the beginning, it was super interesting to see. I know it's like something really minuscule and small, but Miss Minutes like popping up, like she or it, the clock is like, was bouncing around the desk. It was like a hologram, but it's like a recording. There's like this whole weird thing going on with Miss Minutes, which is really interesting. Um, but dude, I mean, the whole thing was crazy. Just hearing Loki and like how it was explained that if it gets past that certain red line when it's a Nexus event, that they can't even go back and erase it. So that was really interesting. Obviously, that's going to play into like the later part of this episode and my theory about exactly what's going on and what this variant Loki is doing. But big thing for me was Loki too. Was like it's 2012 Loki. He's swindling his way out of things, but then he also is aware of like what's come. And so like I feel like there's like an inner conflict in Loki, and we're gonna see that play out through the series, where he wants to be good, but he wants to have his own agenda. And we even saw him kind of point out that, when he talked to the other variant about his plan, how he still wants to be the guy that's ruling and says, I need a good lieutenant. And that really kind of made the other variant angry. And I can explain that later because I have a feeling I know where this variant came from and what their plan is. But uh, for me, I think it's going to just be saying Loki and like his inner struggle with being good and then being selfish for himself. So we'll see.
Yeah, really good points. I totally agree. Ethan, anything you want to mention? Maybe about
Um,
the Renaissance scene in particular?
yeah, I think we kind of it kind of gets more into the plot of the whole episode, but I think it's kind of just reaffirming like what's going on and like kind of the plan of this other Loki. And so we kind of go into why they've been doing like ambushes like this for so long, and it kind of comes into fruition later. But I think it was just a good um, point for us to remember, and then it also gave Loki a good stage to kind of be himself and be mischievous later.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, Jake, like as far as where they're taking Loki in this episode, um, how did you feel like the progression went with his character? And I know you touched on it a little bit, but also anything else that stood out with him and Mobius, and like really kind of breaking down their relationship, their work relationship a little bit more here, um, and whether or not Loki is trustworthy, because we see him, you know, and that was a funny moment too, talking about like backstabbing, because we kind of see him towards the beginning, um, you know, try and turn on them. But what were your thoughts here?
Yeah, and funny thing about that as well is he says, "Oh, that's boring. I would never do that."
Yeah,
Um, in that opening scene, do you want to know what the other variant does? It it I'll say it messes with the Time Variance Authority, the Minutemen, and has one of them attack the Minutemen. So the Minutemen's fighting the other Minutemen, and then the other variant Loki comes up and stabs the other person in the back. So it was really funny to see that. It's kind of like all these other variants have this thing about them, which I don't know why they love stabbing people in the back. Um, but on their working relationship, it's been really interesting to see because it's not just um, them doing stuff; it's also them like getting down into like spiritual talk or like universal talk about like what things are free will, stuff like that. I mean, we see that in the middle of the episode. They talk to each other, which is really interesting about very deep things, and give their own opinion about it, and then kind of have like a back and forth, which is really interesting. But also, I think I'm gonna give the upper hand to Owen Wilson because Loki said he said once in this episode, he says, the fact that you think you can manipulate me is funny, like it's a joke. But that's basically all he's doing to Loki. He keeps like promising him certain things, telling him to keep his focus. Like when he's like, oh, I can get a time, I can talk to the timekeepers or whatever, and he's like, yeah, keep that focus, and he keeps messing
yeah,
with him, and I think that Mobius is like way ahead of Loki just because he's watched Loki so many times, like he studied Loki, so I think it's a great match for them to see, especially like right now because the only other person that could have really known Loki that well was Thor. And we kind of saw that in Thor Ragnarok when he's like, dude, like I know you're like just projecting yourself right now, or whatever the technical term that Loki uses, duplicating.
uh-huh.
Um, and so seeing him be able to kind of control the situation has been really interesting. So I'm thinking, and I honestly, I think that's probably the end of it. I think episode 2. I don't know if Mobius is gonna be he's gonna do that again because Loki's on his own now. I mean, it's all Loki's game at this point because no, spoiler, but he got away from the TVA, so he's got the upper hand now. So we'll see what happens, but it's been really interesting to see their relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and you had mentioned, well, I'll throw it over to Ethan, but you had mentioned kind of like about more of their deeper conversations, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that too because I think that's a really interesting thing with these Marvel shows. We had it with both Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision. These Marvel shows so far have touched on these pretty deep subjects like mental health and social justice, um, like prejudice, stuff like that. Um, things that we see and experience in today's world. And so I'm interested in. I know again we're only 2 episodes in, but interested in hearing what you guys' thoughts are as far as like some heavy subjects that Loki is going to focus on. What do you think, Ethan?
Um, I think it's always hard to tell what what subjects they might touch on going into like a show or something. Like when you're dealing with something like Falcon or Soldier or even WandaVision, going into the show, it's kind of hard to tell, especially because those shows also have longer time to work on stuff like that. And I think with those shows, it served a purpose going into more real stuff, but those were also much more realistic. Just perspectives on like a superhero or something like that. Like Loki's very different, so it's hard to tell. When you're dealing with such like cosmic stuff and what's gonna fit in, and so that's not too out of place or anything like that, but also serve its purpose. But I think if I were to guess or anything like that, it'd probably be just the effect that something like time has on events and stuff like that, and just the state of things in general and how these changes affect it so much. And so, but it's always hard to tell, and they always have some sort of idea of what they're trying to not push, but just what they're trying to give a perspective on. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what they have in mind, and uh, it's always hard to tell what they're going to do. So I'm sure we'll be talking about this probably next week as to something that came up. So
Yeah, so far in the first 2 episodes, things that I've kind of seen, um, what I feel like they're starting to touch on is these ideas about, um, I think identity and like maybe really like not liking things about your own personality, stuff like that we see with Loki, and then also, um, when it comes to life choices, not being happy with the choices that you make in life. I feel like they definitely touched on that with episode 1. At first, I wasn't sure if I believed Loki when he said I don't like killing people and this and that, um, but I actually, after you watch it and after the second time watching it too, I was like, yeah, he was being genuine, and he even called himself out towards the end, and he's like, um, a lot of this that the image that I put up is basically a facade. It's so that other people will fear me, even though it's coming from what he said is actually a weak person. So I think it's kind of those ideas about who you are and the choices that you make in life and kind of things that you have to live with, but also maybe going forward making better decisions that you're happier with, and maybe like this can tie into a redemption arc for him. That's kind of my thoughts. Jake, what do you think?
That was really awesome, Dom. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I'm kind of going on the same lines. They could do a couple of things, and I think they've been hinting at a couple of things. I'll go with the most general thing first. I won't take up too much time. Most general thing first
From
is uh, power corrupts absolutely, or whatever the phrase is, with government, or too much power is going to cause an issue. I mean, we saw that in Falcon Winter Soldier. The government wanted to control everyone. It's TVA. They want to control everyone. So that's the first thing that I think they always
yeah,
touch on. It's not anything new. But then free will, like what you were talking about, like that's a really crazy concept that they're trying to discuss right now. It's probably going to hit a lot of different people a lot of different ways. But the ability to choose your way and then have regret and then dealing with regret from your choices is something that they might be touching on. Obviously, the third thing would be the gender fluid stuff that's going on with it, where it's him as a girl now. Spoiler alert, but I don't even think that's really it. I think that um, oh man, I'm spacing.
you know what stood out to me actually, if you don't mind,
No, go
you
for it.
know, when you're talking kind of like about the power and corrupting, that makes me, you know, think a little bit about like how there's speculation, especially with the timekeepers, and I feel like that could be uh, kind of something that they really capitalize on here with uh, like them being corrupt. You know what I mean? And like abusing their power and just like the way that we perceive how everything's being ran and the sacred timeline. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. And to that note too, even in the beginning of episode 2, Loki even says, "Yeah, I've been watching the TVA propaganda because of like, have you seen the videos of this stuff?" So he already kind of has an idea that it's going to be corrupt. Me personally, I don't even know if the timekeepers exist, and we can touch on that later. But um,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and I think it might. I'm on Kang Gang, so it could just be Kang. Or honestly, what's her name? Renslayer, Art, whatever her name is.
Yeah,
The
yeah, I think
judge.
it's translated.
So even Renslayer might just be one of those people that is helping the upper power, which could be the other analyst that she mentioned before, which is possibly Kang. And then, yeah, I just something's going on with the TVA for sure. I'm thinking I'm not trusting them at all. But Loki said propaganda, and it seems like I mentioned in our last episode, whoever wins the war dictates the story. Like they get to say whatever they want to say. They might not exist. They get to like make the rules. And even when they're having that heart to heart with between Mobius and Loki, is he's like, I don't even question it. Like I just accept it, which is kind of like I don't want to get too deep in it, but that's kind of like socialist thinking. Like that's like communist thinking, where like they just tell me what to do and I do it. Like I don't question it. Like I just go along with it because like that's what I believe. But that's also like part of the propaganda and how he was brought up in the TVA. So I'm thinking like how they're running things and how they don't want people asking questions, and how when you see the stuff in the end credits, like a lot of the files are redacted. So I'm thinking there's cover ups. I'm thinking they don't want questions to be asked. Everything's classified when Loki asks for it. I'm wondering who even has the power to look at those files. So
Yeah,
it might
and
be that.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say something that both Marvel and Star Wars do quite a bit is when it comes to their villains, they pull stuff. uh, I mean, this goes way back for Star Wars and for the Marvel comics. They pull stuff from like you know, the old wars and especially like Holocaust times, and like their villains definitely like their roots and their upbringing definitely have you know, a lot of similarities with the Nazis. So that's something. Those are elements that have continued to just go forward with a lot of Marvel's movies and shows. Still, like we saw um, a couple things like in WandaVision with what is it,
Right?
Hydra. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so those elements, you know, we still see, and I think they're just gonna keep going on. And I mentioned this in one of our reviews too, like those things, because they're, you know, real life and they're part of history for us. It's like it's a kind of evil that we can like really relate to because we understand it and we've read up on it, and you know it's just part of our history, right? And so yeah, definitely Marvel and Star Wars have both used those quite a bit, those things.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the timeline bombings. There was kind of like an Easter egg within these, because, and I'm gonna watch it again, but I took note of this, and doing some research. You see, um, like the names of different planets that were taken out,
I got a
and
list.
oh yeah, hey, please, guy.
Yeah.
I know one was Titan, so that was really
Yeah.
interesting. But
And
yeah,
that's coming
throw it out
up.
there, man.
They're showing that too.
Yeah,
BTW.
so there's
Okay. Yeah,
um
well, Ethan, throw that out there, and then Jake,
Yeah.
follow up.
the ones that I saw, there's Vormir, there's Asgard, there's Ego, which I thought was pretty sick.
Very
New
weird.
York, New York's always going to be in there. Like, no shot. It's not. There's a clip in the trailer of just New York, like, devastated, like a nuke had gone off. So, makes more sense now. And there was, like, another shot that looked like they were on Vormir. So, that makes more sense now. Hala, which is, like, the Kree homeworld, I think, that was in Captain Marvel. And then Xandar. So, I think that's it. I was gonna pull it up and confirm that I got everything, but I think that's mainly it. And those are just some like big plans. Like I never thought we'd be talking about Ego again.
Yeah.
Like no shot. And then there's just some other places that I think were probably had something to do with just the MCU in general. Like especially with like Far From Home and all that. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
there's some places like there's a lot of places in Europe that were in there. But yeah, I think it's pretty crazy just all the different stuff going on. But
Well, it goes back to your point towards the beginning of our review this evening, Ethan, that you were saying how this show, Loki in particular, as opposed to Wanda and Falcon, like Marvel can use this show and probably is using it even more to push forward the next phase in the MCU and set up so many more things that we're going to see in our new upcoming shows and movies. And
yeah,
I think it's stuff like this too that's like they're doing it, and it can be subtly, but for sure, like it. I mean, yeah, we don't want to read too much into it, but it's hard to imagine this in particular not having like meaning to it.
Mhm.
But Jake, you want to follow up?
Yeah, I'll follow with you and I'll touch on what Ethan said as well. So I'm pretty sure that the head writers for this series, or the head writer for this series, is also the head writer for, or one of the writers for Multiverse of Madness. So I think this is a catapult right now. Like they're shooting it off into the stars right now. Like these guys, they know what they're doing. They have a plan. It's all set up. So he talked about that a little bit. I watched the interview with him the other day, and so that's really interesting. I think they're definitely setting up, which is weird because I kind of figured that they would, or I thought they said that if you watch these shows aren't going to be so impactful just because they didn't want to force people to get Disney Plus
yeah,
to watch these series.
yeah, for sure.
But, dude, this is it, man. Like if nothing else, I mean, Loki is this is what's happening. He's gonna like this is gonna be the mainstay of how Phase 4 started in the next couple phases. Um, but what Ethan said was Vormir, and I thought that was really interesting. I've heard that theory a couple of times as well. Um, but when you look at the timestamps on those dates that she sent the bombs back to, it's 1984 or something
Yeah.
on Titan. So that, and see how it was purple and asteroids were coming down and planets were clashing into the planet. I'm thinking that that might be Titan instead of Vormir. Although I get where you're coming from with the lake scene, but then there's also kind of, I feel like I saw,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I rewatched the commercials back, and there's like some tents and stuff. So there's got to be something happening on there. And I don't remember Vormir really having like any sort of like habitat or people living there or anything like that. And it's purple. So I'm thinking it might be Titan. I don't know when that's going to show up. I had a feeling that they might lead us right from the end, and he walks through that doorway, and that's Titan. And she's going to explain, like, this is what they want to do. The TVA wants people to die like this all the time, and there's going to be collapses in like the universe. And I think that it's going to be like a moment where she tries to pull like Loki onto her side. I don't know if that's going to happen, but and I have weird theories about it, because if you look at him, he's wearing a coat in some of the commercials and he's not wearing a coat in some of them. So he has this variant thing on. And we'll get into that in the theory stuff, but I wanted to touch on that just because I've heard what Ethan said, and I'm kind of torn. I'm conflicted. I don't know if it's Titan or if it's Vormir.
Yeah, so the date on Vormir is 2000.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now. So
Wait, what was the date? What was the date?
So the year is I don't even know. I'm so dumb. 2301 is the year on it.
Okay.
And so it's so confused. And then Asgard's like 2004. And then I want to see the main one I'm curious about though is New York, because I'm like, depending on New York, crazy stuff. 1947 is New York. He goes back in like the 1300s. So I'm curious how that's going to go and stuff like that. But yeah, and then Titan was 1982. So it'll probably be Titan getting like messed up or something like that. Who knows? But yeah,
I don't know if they said how old Thanos was. Do you guys remember at all? Because what was that?
No.
40 years ago almost. So I'm assuming
But
it's
yeah.
so.
Either way, I just think one cool thing to know is we were talking about the red bar earlier and how once it gets past that, you can't really make changes to it. But most of these like parallel paths are like right up, like getting right up there to that bar. So it's hard to imagine. And like how fast they were moving with earlier in the episode when Loki and them he was kind of like stalling the timeout, and you could see like how fast it was moving up towards that red line.
Right.
Like it's kind of hard to imagine that they're going to fix all of these like right now, and so you definitely know some of these are going to be, permanently stained on this timeline.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll for sure look forward to seeing what comes of that. Maybe we'll do some more speculation on our next review, upcoming reviews on where they could take things with those planets and those dates, different timelines like that. But we got to keep going. So why don't we kind of go towards the conclusion of things? They finally tracked down, and we can backtrack a little bit, but for sake of time, we got to keep moving. So they finally tracked down the variant, the Loki variant, and she's been hiding, I believe, in different apocalypses, is what he says, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Loki he really helps track where she is, and they head out there. Also, can't forget that salad scene. I thought was really, really funny. I thought it was great.
Can I point something out too? And that
Yeah,
scene
absolutely.
it was one of the funniest Easter eggs that I only caught when I watched it back the second time. You know how he goes and grabs that juice box? It's from the guy that he told he was gonna gut like a fish. And
really?
Rewatching, he's like, "You," and he like gets like shocked that he's there, and he's like, "Yeah, excuse me," and he's all polite and takes his juice box, but it's the same guy, and I like cracked up. I was like, "This
Gotcha.
freaking guy,
Casey, right?
Loki." Yes, Casey. Yeah, I was dying. Anyway,
That's
sorry. I thought that was so funny.
No, that was great. So they track down the variant, and of course, Loki has to go with the other officer because she doesn't trust him. And Ethan, why don't you kind of break this down for us a little bit? You guys can dive into some speculation here as we kind of go over the concluding sequences and get the reveal.
Yeah, so we kind of throughout this episode we kind of got um, this power, I guess, that this Loki uses, which is kind of like yoinking bodies from people and like putting their like subconscious like into them. Um, and there's actually a pretty funny line by our Loki at one point, like saying how it's kind of like cowardly, to do that. And so I think it kind of just goes to prove the fact that he could be doing this, but he just never like did because it's like so easy. Like one of the main Loki stories, is that he was like a snake, right? For like that's kind of one of his main things. And so I think it goes to the point that Loki could do this. Like it's kind of a Loki signature, but he just hasn't yet. So yeah, I thought that's kind of cool, and just seeing like that back and forth. But that's kind of the main power that we saw throughout this, and it seems like the Minutemen, like they were aware of this like ability, and so they're kind of like going throughout this store because this store is apocalyptic because there's a hurricane that's just gonna like wipe everyone out in there, and so the Loki can kind of chill in there and just like live their life for a bit before it gets destroyed. And I guess this Loki has the ability to use like those portal things that the Minutemen do, because otherwise, how else would they be like moving in and out of these apocalypse situations? So eventually, they're like questioning this guy who they're like it might be like like the Loki they need, and what do you know it was. And so it's kind of just funny like seeing all these interactions and stuff. But yeah, I'm more curious on Jake's thoughts on this, because you probably picked more stuff up than I did during this like whole section. But
Yeah, Jake, break it down, man.
Oh man. Oh geez, pressure's on.
Oh, it's on.
Geez, dude, there's a lot to pick apart.
Yeah.
It was really funny. The first thought that I had was like, this guy's shopping for plants right now. Like that's Loki. Like he's gonna die in like 10 minutes. Like this guy, that's Loki. Like who shops for a plant when there's a massive
Yeah.
right? But it was super interesting. Yeah. My whole thing on that, and I don't know if I can say it, but first of all, the thing that you were gonna ask, I don't know how close we're on time, so I'll just talk a little bit about it. That's okay.
We probably want to close things out in maybe like 10 minutes.
Okay, so you brought up if it was Enchantress or if it was Lady Loki. What we know from Marvel Comics is that they tend to blend some people together, like with Hela. It was another character as well. I think it was actually Enchantress and Hela that they wanted to combine too. So they kind of already used this little scheme. I could see them using that.
Yeah, I had heard about that too, because yeah, like I mentioned to Ethan and Jake before the show, I do think that it's a possibility that um, maybe this Loki variant isn't like full Loki. Maybe it's actually Enchantress, or I was thinking similarly to Hela, maybe it's a combination of like Enchantress and the character of Lady Loki, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that it's probably a little mixture. I'm assuming they're going to call her Lady Loki just based on the fact that they say it's a variant. Yeah, there she is in all her glory. Look at her. So for me, it's probably a combination, but I'm leaning towards Lady Loki because they said it's a Loki variant. She's definitely before Loki. She's probably from the timeline that was messed up before, and she has her own army, and she was rising to power, and then the TVA came and messed it all up. So when Loki approaches her and says, when she's Randy and she says, "Call me Randy," he's like, "Let me break down this plan. I want to overthrow the TVA and take over the TVA." And what she's thinking is what Loki said in episode 1, which is, "I want to burn this place to the ground. Like, screw the TVA. Like, I don't care. Like, I want to go back to my own home world," which is probably Battle Earth or Battle World. I think that's what's called, which is directly related to Secret Wars, which we know is
Battle
coming
World.
up. Yeah, so we know that's coming up. So she probably is thinking, because she ruled Battle World, Lady Loki. So she wants to get rid of these guys because she wants to go back to her own time. And she doesn't want to overthrow them and control everyone. She wants to like have chaos in the world. And that's why she loves free will, because that's what breeds chaos, is everyone having their own choices to do whatever they want. And that's going to create a bunch of branches. So he comes up, he says that she, first of all, Loki says, like, "I want you to be my lieutenant." And she's like, "Bro, like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm way before you," which she even says, "If anyone's anyone, you're me. Like, I came before you. Like, you're a joke, bro." And plus, we see her powers, which are way more extensive than Loki's. So that's going to be a big part. And dude, the whole thing was just gnarly. The fact that she can like take over someone's body like that really reminded me too of like Wanda, right? How she used to do that and like psych people out and their eyes would glow. And that just brings me back to witchcraft, which Loki's mom is a witch. So he learned witchcraft, and that's where he gets his powers from. So it's like magic, witchcraft stuff that's going on. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm thinking she's not the big bad. She's trying to take someone else down, and that's probably what's her face, Slayer, our Slayer, as she puts it on the document to sign her paper. But she's probably in cahoots with Kang, and Kang is probably running everything. There's probably no timekeepers, and she just wants to get rid of this like false prophet, basically, like this order that's happening for no reason besides keeping people in check and making them do what they want to do. And even in the office, Owen Wilson says, like, "Don't you think he could change? Like, he could change." And she's like, "Yeah, only if the timekeepers say it," which is really funny too. Another thing we didn't point out: Owen Wilson's never even met the timekeepers. Like, no one knows who they are except for
That's
her.
right.
So that also leads me to believe, like, it's going to be a Wizard of Oz like guy behind the curtain pulling the strings. It's not going to be these three people. It's probably going to be one person, and it's all just, used to control. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, and to that point, remind me of her name. I think it's is it Ravonna?
Yeah, Ravana or
Ravana?
No, Ravona. Yeah, that's
I
what
think it is Ravonna.
Yeah.
And so she's like the head of the TVA, correct?
Of sorts. It seems like she is.
Yeah,
But
seems like she is. Yeah, I don't know what you would call her. Like,
she's like a judge, but she's also like the middleman between the timekeepers.
Right. So her character in the comics, from doing research, has been in cahoots with King the Conqueror at times. And so it's a possibility, because there was that conversation between Mobius and Ravonna about her having like another helper. I'm forgetting the analyst. Yeah. Like a second analyst who she actually prefers.
Mobius was kind of weird about it. I don't know if they have something going on or have
Yeah,
something going on.
I thought that maybe they had a relationship previously, something like that.
Yeah.
Or,
and plus the rings on the table. She's like, you've been here before, right? Like, and had a drink here. So, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe they might have history or something, but yeah, maybe this other analyst could be Kang, possibly. That could be interesting. Ethan?
I heard a theory that they're all like kind of like Mobius in a way, that they're just multiple versions because there's always the
Yeah.
same. It was always the same ring like on the desk, like no matter what. And but then there's also theories that like he's actually like Kang in a way, and there's so many like different versions of how Kang came into like fruition in comics and stuff. Like I think there was one where Kang had lived so many different timelines that basically he was like everyone at one point. Like he could literally, like there's just so many ways that you can introduce him.
Mhm.
Or there's been a lot of speculation as if he's like one of the timekeepers or if he is like the timekeeper, in which that would make a lot of sense if he was going to come in Quantum Mania.
Yeah.
Because now Quantum Mania isn't just about being tiny, it's about time travel. So
Right.
I ask you guys too about that.
yeah, so it's a whole thing now, and I definitely think to some extent he'll be talked about, or at least not even talked about in this, but I think in the future he'll somehow tie back into the TVA, and with his origin and all that. So I think it would make sense for it to. I don't. For some reason, I feel like he's not going to be introduced in Loki, but I do feel like he's going to be. I do think his story is going to revolve a lot around the TVA in the future if they talk about it a bit more. Because I feel like that's kind of what these shows are for. Is you have something canon that you can go back on later. Like I think in WandaVision, her in the book or like Darkhold or whatever is going to be big in the future, but you're going to be able to tie back to that, you know. And I think that's kind of what these shows are going to be on. Is it'll give you something to look back to, but not exactly to be like going forward with it. You know, like it's not going to be the starting point, but it'll be like an origin point for a lot of these stories. And I do think he'll, to some extent, have something to do with all this TVA stuff because his character does have a lot to do revolving around time, and so I think that'll be interesting to see. But there's just so many. I think the rest of the show is going to be really trippy, probably, and so there's just so many ways they can go with, you know, Mobius and just the origins of the TVA in general, and you know who's in control and all that. So
Well, why don't we give like some final thoughts and maybe some final theories before we
Oh,
close out?
gosh. Well, I'll hit you with a rogue theory because Ethan just kind of brought it up. We got Renslayer there. What if she was in love with someone named Kang that was an analyst, and he took one of the time stones because remember the guy said people use them as paperweights, some of them, and everyone's been speculating like, so did someone take one of these time stones and go back to one of the timelines and mess with everyone? What if Kang went back? And I'm not saying that the timekeepers never existed, but what if he went back, took out the timekeepers, and replaced himself in that position? And he was a lover of hers, and now she's in cahoots with him, and she's like, no one could talk to them. Like, don't even worry about it. They're doing fine. They're just doing their own thing. But it's really this guy King that's like trying to control everyone's narrative because he wants to rule over everything, which is super interesting in my
So,
opinion.
yeah,
so who is Renslayer? Because I'm sorry if I just didn't catch.
What's her face? The judge. What her other name?
Oh,
you said
Ravonna.
yeah, Ravonna,
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Ravonna.
I see. I see.
our Renslayer.
So
Yeah.
I can actually possibly debunk this rogue theory
Go
with
for it.
with one variable.
Hit me up.
Depends on all the details with your theory here, but those stones only work in their specific timeline from their
Mhm.
specific, universe or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it. You know what I mean? So it would have to be like a very like specific thing for them to, go back to its own timeline. They only work in their own timeline. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm getting at. So
Okay.
Kang took him back to a certain timeline where he was like to like the beginning of time almost when he
So
took
that
all
they
these stones,
so that they could work where they would work.
so that they could work. Yeah. And that doesn't even have to be. He honestly could just take out the TVA. He could take out the timekeepers and been like, yo, like let's do this because she knows all about them, where they are, who they are. She talks to them supposedly, right? So I'm thinking there probably was a mishap with that, or just straight up like he's always been behind the curtain for the TVA. But my biggest thing that I really want to dive into is what's going to happen next episode. And we didn't really touch on it, but so she drops the time bombs off, right? So what's happening next, and why did she do that? For me, it's she did this time stuff to get everyone out of the TVA. So now the TVA has no one manning the fort, basically. Like, it's a distraction. And when I went back to the commercials, you've seen her, Lady Loki, inside of the TVA fighting certain people. And you also have seen her, like, I'm thinking the girl said, I told her where to find them and how to find them. I'm thinking that she basically spilled the beans on this is how you get to the secret classified documents to find out how to get to these people. She didn't tell them exactly like where they are because who knows? That girl has no idea where they are. Like, that's so classified. But she told her, like, this is where you find the documents to find these people. So, spilled the beans, explosion. Now everyone leaves, and it's just going to be because when you see it, Loki's actually in his variant jacket and he's walking through the TVA with his daggers, and there's dead bodies on the floor. I'm thinking she does it as a distraction, and she's getting everyone out. She's going to find the documents.
And where was that scene? I'm sorry.
The commercials.
Commercial. Okay.
Yeah, trailer. If you actually go on just Disney
Mhm.
Plus and look at the trailer, there's
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram earlier, like right before I watched
remember
the
that
episode.
now. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I was like wondering where I was looking for that scene, like while I was watching it. But was the scene actually in the episode of her like in the TVA? Because I was trying to remember if that like
I could see it because he's walking through with his daggers, his variant jacket's on, and he passes a door that has orange and white writing on it that says 36 on it.
But this isn't in episode 2. It's in the commercial,
well,
right?
no, I was thinking of, but there was another scene in that commercial where she was like dragging someone into the TVA. I thought like it was weird, but it was like someone was being dragged through a portal like into the TVA, and it was in like some clip I saw or something. But
it might have been a splicing between episode 2 and the beginning when she drags the girl through the portal. Is that maybe?
No, it was just her in the TVA. Like it was weird. I don't know what it was. But
okay. Yeah.
I definitely think they're gonna end up there probably by next episode because I think stuff is gonna escalate real quickly.
Yeah, it's 100% a distraction. She's getting in there, man.
Big time.
But so that's gonna happen, I think, next episode, and then it's just gonna get wild because I think that she's gonna do what Loki couldn't, and so Loki's gonna be like, all right, like I'm gonna see what you're about then after this, and that's what's gonna set off all these different things. He's probably gonna end up chasing her through time to different like spots in time to try to get her. It's not gonna work out for him, obviously, but I'll let Ethan take it because I have a question that I want to ask you guys, which is a major theory that's going on that I want to see what you guys have to say too.
I think you can drop it. I think I'm pretty solid as what I think is going to happen, speculation wise. So
let's throw it at us, and we'll close out after that.
So I'll ask the question, and then I'll let you guys speculate, and then I'll give you the evidence that I might have. Where do you guys think the TVA is?
see, that's the one thing that that's the one thing I was going to talk about is the TVA seems so weird because the idea of it is so cosmic, but it works like so like scientifically, you know, like it just seems like one big place where everything's like, you know, working, like it seems so technological, but the idea of it is such like a cosmic thing, like you're dealing with time. So like that's why I could see it just being a huge scam. But everything I've heard, I think it's just like in between like the nine realms, right? Or to some extent of like these different realms within, like you have Asgard and Midgard and all that. And so I think it's kind of just like the in between of that kind of stuff. But Yeah, I don't know. That's my theory on it.
I never thought too much about it actually. But yeah, I like what Ethan said. That makes a lot of sense. Plus, the realms even got brought up too in one of the episodes, and then we had talked about last week about how Doctor Strange most likely knows about the timekeepers after being like promoted to the Supreme. So he probably knows about them a little bit, and that would kind of tie them into some of the Doctor Strange lore. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Okay. So let me throw this at you guys because I thought about it and I keep thinking about more and more. TVA, where are they? I'm thinking they might be in the quantum realm. Okay. We've seen the city in the background in Ant-Man. Okay.
Okay.
What is that? First of all. Second of all, Ant-Man says time works differently in the quantum realm. And then we had Mobius in the elevator saying the same exact thing. He says, I forget the exact quote, but it's basically, yeah, time works
Time works different
differently.
here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they might be in the quantum realm in some area in the quantum realm somewhere where that's where Quantumania comes from with Kang,
Yeah.
because he might be in the quantum realm, know about it, know how to work it out, and that might be like the manipulation he's putting on everyone, or it's this false front that like they're in some time between time, which is basically the quantum realm, and um, I'm thinking that's a possibility. I don't know. What do you guys feel about it? Because
I I think visually, like it would make a lot of sense. Like even like the gates and stuff that they have, like thinking back to like the portal that they like were going through. Um, like I think visually and like color, aspect wise, I think it would make a lot of sense. Like having that all tie together, and it definitely seems like familiar to something that would be in the quantum realm. So yeah, man, I could definitely see, and it makes sense how they can literally just teleport like practically anywhere at any time. Like for them to do their jobs, it would make sense for them to be in the quantum realm, in the first place. So yeah, that'd make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and totally agree with that. Why don't we go ahead, if you guys don't mind, we will close things out by rating the episode. I was gonna give it a solid 4.5 out of 5. I think the only
Out
thing
of 10. Just kidding.
I think the only thing that would have made it just a little bit better for me is maybe just a little bit more action, but don't really have much complaints. I thought it was really really good. What about you, Jake?
So for me, yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 5 because I love how they're ramping everything up, dude. Like it's getting me all jonesed up. The only issue I have with this episode is they mentioned jet skiing with Owen Wilson, Mobius, and I'm telling you, if they don't capitalize on that and have the timeline break so that Mobius can ride a jet ski and it won't affect anyone,
They will.
riding off into the sunset, man, on his
They'll be chasing Loki on a jet ski.
or
That's,
maybe Loki will be holding on to him. I
yeah,
don't
there
know.
you go.
Either way, man, I don't care. I need to see Mobius on a jet ski. Or yeah, so that's how I feel. 10 out of 10.
Nice. What about you, Ethan?
Yeah, I give it like a 5, 10 out of 10. Like I think it's just real solid. Like I'm okay with the pacing. Like I like that it's kind of like a detective like deal, with the whole episode, and uh, I think it just works really well. I think it's very realistic for such like a big deal in this universe, and I think they're doing a really good job at making everything like make sense when it's such complicated stuff. So yeah, I really love the show so far, and can't wait for next week. We're almost like halfway through it already, so it's kind of weird to think about.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Well, I thought this was a great review, guys. I think we broke down quite a lot and, really delve into the big takeaways of the episode. So, looking forward to next week. Jake, thanks a lot for being on the review for Loki.
Of course, my pleasure. Love being here.
Yeah, we love having you. Appreciate it, man. And we appreciate our viewers, our listeners out there. Again, continue to support us by hitting that subscribe button, follow button, leaving us a like, leaving us a comment, joining the conversation, letting us know how you guys enjoyed this episode 2 of Loki. We want to hear from you. Oh, let's give a quick shout out before we head out to our friends over at the Sidekicks podcast.
So, dude.
We love those guys. Shout out to them. We're closing things up with our Loki spoiler review, but thanks for tuning in, guys. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Continue to show us your support, not only here, but again, you can also check us out on the audio platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. Also, we have our special show, Starfighter Gaming, that pops up here and there, some special pre-recorded episodes, as well as we do some live streaming. So you can join us, hang out while we play some games, talk about our love and enjoyment when it comes to certain video games, stuff like that. Jake and I did one last night. We played some Knockout City for a long time. That's on the channel you can check out. Ethan and I did a Smash Bros video to kind of like kickstart Starfighter Gaming, as well as our other like introduction to, our live streaming games was also the episode that I did with Nick Brabants, where we played Dragon Ball Fighters, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah, guys, stay tuned for more of that. Again, we are going to be including more of our audience and friends, especially doing some party games soon. So look out for that. And this Friday, we are doing our episode 3. It is our third edition of Trivia Night, our game night here. So we're going to be playing some more nerdy trivia. Jake is looking for some redemption. He needs that redemption arc in his story and his timeline. So he's going to be back for that. Myself, I am going to be competing for the first time. So in this trivia, Ethan's going to be hosting it alongside one of our friends, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We have some other friends coming on board to play as well. It's going to be a great time. Those are some of our best episodes by far that we know that you guys have told us that you guys really enjoy those trivia nights. So
the questions are real
Thanks
good. I've seen some of the questions, and
yes,
they're real solid.
I'm excited. I'm not making any of the questions this time, obviously, because I get to compete. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing these questions and just having a lot of fun with everyone. And of course, we know Ethan and Celicia are going to do a good job, and it's going to be great to have Alex back as well. So stay tuned for that coming up this Friday at 6 p.m. and so many other shows coming your way soon. Did I miss anything, Ethan, or is that about it?
That's it. No. See you guys Friday.
All right, guys, we're signing out here at the Starfighter Podcast. We will see you soon.